In other news, U.S. President George Bush is meeting with the Israeli and Palestinian leaders in Washington today. He's invited Ehud Olmert and Mahmoud Abbas to the White House for separate meetings ahead of tomorrow's Mideast summit. That all-day session is geared to help restart the peace process. For more on the story, the CBC's Henry Champ joins us now from Washington. So, Henry, Bush has now met with Ehud Olmert. Just tell us how that meeting went today.
Well, apparently fairly well. The president saying that he was very optimistic that there would be progress made at these talks that begin tomorrow in Annapolis. I participated along with many others at a briefing yesterday at the White House, and the word being given then by senior officials was not to have those kinds of expectations, pointing out that these weren't negotiations that were taking place in Annapolis, but rather a run-up to negotiations. And what was really hoped for was the idea that there might be a schedule, some sort of timetable of talks between the Israelis and the Palestinians that would lead to future success sometime later on, perhaps in the year 2008. However, the president was more upbeat, and here we have he and the Prime Minister speaking to the press this morning.
Yeah, Mr. Prime Minister, welcome. It's an honor to have you back in the Oval Office. Thanks for coming to the Annapolis conference. I'm looking forward to continuing our serious dialogue with you and President of the Palestinian Authority to see whether or not peace is possible. I'm optimistic. I know you're optimistic, and I want to thank you for your courage and your friendship. I'm proud of you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Sir.
I'm delighted to come with my colleagues to another time to the Oval Office. This time it's different because we are going to have lots of participants in what I hope will launch a serious process of negotiations between us and the Palestinians. This will be a bilateral process, but the international support is very important for us, and I thank you for the efforts that you, President, made in order to make it possible, and the Secretary of State together with us in order to come to this point where from we and the Palestinians will sit together in Jerusalem and work out something that will be very good and create a great hope for our peoples.
The president will be meeting with Palestinian leader Abbas later this afternoon. Should say, too, that 16 other Arab nations are attending these talks to hopefully add support to the idea of progress, and about 25 of the world's richest nations are there as well.
Well, Henry, it was interesting to hear Ehud Olmert say that this is different, if for no other reason, that there are so many participants, including Canada. Are there other issues that will figure into the discussions?
Well, I think Olmert touched a point that many of us think may be in these early stages as important as the actual negotiations that are taking place, that the rich nations are there, and you heard Olmert say it was important to have this international support. Tony Blair, the former British Prime Minister, is leading what is referred to as the donors aspect of all of this. There'll be a conference in Paris of these nations in December. The idea is to come up with billions of dollars that would be made available to the Palestinians to bring their infrastructure up to speed so that there could be the realism of a Palestinian state, roads, harbors, airports, things of that kind. Blair says that not only will the money come from these rich nations and provide that infrastructure, but it holds out the promise of tens of thousands of jobs for Palestinians, and the idea that all of this might serve as a bit of a carrot to move the Palestinians further is what gives some people hope that we may see some progress at these talks fairly early on.
Very interesting. Henry, thanks very much for this. The CBC's Henry Champ in Washington.